Good morning, Fred, boys and girls, especially my fifth graders who I wanted to watch this video because I have some book talks that I want to share with you, and you all get to vote on the next book that I will read on YouTube. So please pay attention. And yes, you probably noticed something's different about Miss Bell. I wonder what it is. Well, Miss Bell had a little bit of a COVID-19 moment. A friend of mine wanted to dye my hair red, or actually magenta. So I figured, what the heck? You know, we're at home. But I also figured if we went back to school May 15th, the specialist and I were going to do a 90s week. And a lot of people in the 90s, when I was a teenager, they dyed their hair these crazy colors. So I was going to do it for that too. So my hair is like magenta, which is like a reddish pink. Very dark. You can see that in the sun. I know it looks just pretty much red right here, but it's kind of fun. All right, so I do have Read Alouds for you. And remember, when you're voting, you can scroll all the way down if you're on your phone and go all the way down and comment. And you'll just use like the first word of each book title. So the first book I want to share with you, which is from an awesome author. Her name is Mary Downing Hahn, and she has written a ton of really great, scary horror story books. She wrote the book Took, which a lot of you know. I believe she wrote Wait Till Helen Comes. Well, the book we're talking about today is a new one, and it's called Deep and Dark and Dangerous. Looks pretty spooky, huh, with that doll on the cover. Now, behind this story, there's a 13-year-old, and her name's Allie. She finds an old photograph in her attic. She knows the two children in it are her mother, Claire, and her aunt, Dulcie. But there's a third person there, and they've been torn out of the picture, so she can only see part of that person's face. Allie figures that when they go on vacation, she'll find out in Maine when she visits Aunt Dulcie and her 4-year-old daughter Emma in the house where Allie's mother's family used to spend the summers. And they hope for relaxation, but the relaxation is ruined after their arrival when the girls meet Sissy, a kid who's mean and spiteful and bad. She's a bad influence on Emma, the 4-year-old daughter. And then, strangest of all, Sissy keeps talking about a girl named Teresa who drowned under the mysterious circumstances back when Claire and Dulcie were kids. And her body was never found. At first, Allie thinks Sissy is just trying to scare her with a ghost story, but soon, Allie discovers the real reason why Sissy is so angry. Mary Downing Hahn is one of the best authors for horror stories. And I'll tell you, I read her All the Lovely Bad Ones book, and that one scared me. Ms. Bell almost stopped reading it several times, but then I was like, nah, it's just a story, so I did finish it. But she does really get you spooked and send shivers down your spine. The next book we're going to look at is The Night Gardener. This is another spooky book, and it is by Jonathan Auxier. And I have not read this one yet. This is a book we don't have in our Seaford School Library. So it could be a good one to read, and you guys could let me know if you want me to order it for our library. It got a lot of good reviews, and it was a bestseller. And let me tell you a little bit about the book. The Night Gardener, it tells the story of two Irish siblings who travel to work as servants at a creepy, crumbling old English mansion. But the house and its family are not quite what they seem. Soon the children are confronted by a mysterious ghost and an ancient curse that threatens their lives. And the author, he is again another really great horror story author for kids. So it doesn't tell us much more about the book, other than that it's scary, creepy, it's in an old house, and the kids are in danger of losing their lives. So if you guys want that one, you could just put night at the bottom of the comments there for the Night Gardener. The School for Good and Evil sounds like a really good book. It reminds me a little bit of Harry Potter, but it's about two girls instead of two boys and a girl. And it follows two girls who have special magical powers. One girl, she has glass slippers and she does good deeds all the time. Her name's Sophie, and she knows that she'll go to the school for good and join the ranks of past students like Cinderella, Rapunzel, Snow White. So this is based on fairy tales. And then there's also Agatha. She wears shapeless black dresses and she has a wicked black cat. So she seems like she would be a fit for the villains in the School of Evil. The two girls find out that everything's going to be reversed. Sophie, the one who does good deeds, is dumped into the School for Evil, and she's supposed to take a class called Uglification to make herself and other things ugly. Then she's supposed to take death curses and henchman training. Now Agatha finds herself in the School for the Good, and she's put in among handsome princes and fair maidens like Cinderella for classes in princess etiquette and animal communication. So, sounds interesting that they're kind of opposites and then they're put into the opposite schools. Now, both girls start to think, what if the mistake is actually the clue to discovering who Sophie and Agatha really are? So maybe they'll continue on the path that they've been put into, but who knows, maybe they'll change as well. So that is the School of Good and Evil. So you could put school down at the bottom of the comments. House of Secrets is another book that is fantasy. And remember, fantasy, most of these are fantasy horror. So they have magic, they have things that can't happen in our world, maybe magical creatures. Horror has ghosts, suspense, thrilling stuff that scares you. House of Secrets, though, it's by Chris Columbus, who actually, I believe, is a movie maker. He made a lot of movies when I was a teenager and a kid. And Greg Call is the other author on this book. And House of Secrets, it is about some brothers and sisters again. So there's Brendan, Eleanor, and Cordelia Walker. And once they had everything they could ever want. But everything changed when their father, Dr. Walker, lost his job. Now the family has to move to an old Victorian house that was owned by an occultist novelist named Denver Kristoff. An occult, that means that the person is interested in magical creatures like vampires, werewolves, witches, stuff like that. And the house is creepy and seems like it's too good to be true, though, even though it seems creepy. By the time the Walkers realize that one of their neighbors has evil plans for them, they get banished to a forest way off the grid of where anybody else ever goes. And in this forest, there's warriors that patrol the woods around them. There's supernatural pirates that roam the neighboring seas. And there's also a power-hungry queen that rules the land. To survive, the brothers and sisters will have to be braver than they ever thought they could be. And they have to fight against their dark impulses. The key of the story actually lies in their connection to Denver Kristoff, who is the occultist. So maybe they're related to him. But they have to unravel the secrets, and they discover that it's not just them and their family that's in danger, it's actually the whole world. So this book sounds a lot like Lemony Snicket's, where the kids have everything that they ever wanted in the beginning, but then they lose it. And then it also reminds me a little bit of the book Spiderwick that I'm reading, because the house sounds like it has secrets and supernatural, magical things going on in it. And then they get banished. And it almost sounds like an Alice in Wonderland type place or a Peter Pan type place that they go to, but it's not your fun, magical Disney type place. It sounds like a very dangerous place. So if you're interested in House of Secrets, you could just put house in the comments and Ms. Bell could start reading that one next week. The book Spindlers is a new one that I just heard about. It's by an author named Lauren Oliver, and Jacopo Bruno does the illustrations and worked with the author on this book. And it seems like a really interesting book. It's supposed to be a little bit like Alice in Wonderland, which we just talked about a minute ago, actually. And it's about an older sister. She's 12 years old. Her name's Lisa. And she feels danger and dread wash over her one morning. And her brother Patrick is sitting across from her that morning at breakfast. And he kind of feels the same thing. He feels scared. He feels empty. Doesn't know what's going on though. She believes that something called the Spindlers, which are evil spider-like beings, stole her brother's soul in the middle of the night. So Lisa thinks she is the only one that can get his soul back and rescue him. So she has to use her brains. She has to accept the help of a talking rat to guide her into this dark, scary, and dangerous underground to save her brother Patrick's life. And her quest that she goes on, she has to brave tree snakes, the Court of Stones, which I don't know what that is yet, and shape-shifting squogs, which are like magical creatures. And then after that, if she gets through all those things, she has to brave the Spindler's lair, which are the magical spider-like beings. And she has to try to free her brother's soul so he can have it back. So if you want to have me read this one, it's Spindlers. You could just type Spindlers, and Ms. Bell could start that one next week as well. The next book I want to talk about, I'm so excited about. Rick Riordan, who wrote the Olympian series, and he also he's writing one on Asgard as well about Thor and the gods and that hierarchy. He is presenting a new book by Kwame Mabalia's fantasy, and really it's exciting. It's called Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky, and the story takes American gods and African American folk heroes and West African gods and puts Tristan in the middle of all of this. Now Tristan is a 7th grader, and he feels anything but strong. He feels very weak, and that he failed to save his best friend when there was a bus accident. And all he has left of his friend Eddie is a journal that his friend wrote, and he wrote stories in it. So Tristan is dreading the month that he has to spend in Alabama on his grandparents' farm. And that's where he's being sent to get over his friend's death. But on the first night there, a creature shows up in his bedroom and steals Eddie's notebook. Tristan chases after the creature, and he didn't know what it was. So of course it's probably a magical creature. A tug of war ensues between them underneath a bottle tree. So a bottle tree, kind of like the one that was in Because of Winn-Dixie. In a last attempt to wrestle the journal from this creature, Tristan punches the tree, accidentally ripping open a portal or a chasm into Mid-Pass. And it's a dangerous place with a burning sea, haunted bone ships, and iron monsters, that are hunting the inhabitants of the world. Tristan finds himself in the middle of a battle that has left Black American folk heroes John Henry and Brer Rabbit exhausted. So in order to get back home, Tristan and these new allies will need to entice the god Anansi, who is an African god, and you may have read stories about him by a leaky when you were younger. And they get him to come out of hiding, and he has to close the hole in the sky. So Anansi was a spider sometimes. He could change his form. And I guess he has to weave something with his spider-like web to close that hole. There are always tricksters in these stories. So will Tristan be able to take on this trickster, and will these other heroes be able to help him to save the world and close up this portal? It sounds really good. Rick Riordan is an awesome author. I read his Olympian series. I haven't read the series about the gods of Asgard, but if you like this one, you can just write Tristan down at the bottom, and I can order that one. I could not get that on my Kindle though, so I could order it for our library. My favorite book, last but not least, that I would love to read to you all, actually is a realistic fiction book. And it is called The Season of Sticks Malone. This is one we do have in our Fred Douglass Elementary Library. And it's one that I think I talked to a few of you about. It's an excellent realistic fiction book. It has a lot of funny stuff that happened, but then it also has a lot of serious stuff that makes you think about life and about people you may know, because there may be people you know in the same situation as some of these kids. The two main characters in the story are Caleb and Bobby Jean, and they're brothers. And they do these funny, crazy things. Like the beginning of the story is one of the funniest I've ever read. But they meet somebody named Sticks in the woods behind their house, and they're fascinated by him. He's older than them. He seems so cool. He's got a lot of good ideas, and they go on a heartwarming friendship journey with this young man, Sticks, and he comes up with all these things that they're going to do over the summer, things that these boys never thought would be possible. So one thing leads to another, and they have a lot of adventures in their friendship, and loyalties between them are tested, and miracles just might happen. But these are miracle type things that can happen in our world, so that is why it is realistic fiction. And I'm trying to think if there is anything else. Yeah, they meet their new neighbor Sticks, and Sticks is 16 and just seems so much cooler than they are. He promises the brothers that they can pull off a great trade, calling it an escalator trade. You get something that's not worth as much and find somebody who wants it and trade it for something bigger and better, and then you find somebody who wants that and trade it for something bigger and better. So they exchange one small thing for something else that's better until they try to achieve their wildest dream of that summer. As the trades get bigger and bigger, they find themselves a little bit over their heads. And Sticks, even though he's really cool and fun, he does have secrets. So could his secrets ruin everything for himself and the brothers? And could it ruin their friendships? This is one of my favorite books that I've read in the past year. And again, if you want me to read this one, it's called The Season of Sticks Malone. So just write season down in the comments. So that wraps up my book talks for today. And all of these books that I have shown you today, I got from my public library here in Easton through their ebook area. So all of these are ones that I can read on my Kindle app, on my computer. And same with Seaford. Remember, Ms. Bell showed you guys how to get to the Seaford Public Library and get to the ebooks there. And they have a lot of these books. And if they're checked out already, you can put a hold on them and just wait for them to become available, and they'll email you and let you know. If you don't have a Seaford library card, then you could ask your adult. Maybe they could get some books for you through the ebook exchange. And if you don't know how to get there, just email Ms. Bell on Schoology, or you can email me. I'll put my email at the bottom of the video so you can get in touch with me. and I can walk you through how to get to the Seaford Public Library site and to the ebooks again. All right? Well, you guys have a wonderful day, wonderful evening, wonderful night, and I miss you guys. I know that you guys are staying healthy and safe and that you are keeping those brains growing. And I will see you later. Remember to vote for your favorite book. Just put the first word of the title down in the comments because I want to pick something that you guys are really interested in, not just what Ms. Bell is. All right? Okay, Ms. Bell over and out. See you next week, fifth graders and any other Fred Douglass students who are watching.